The DNA test I took for fun matched me with a stranger. 3 weeks later, she changed everything I believed about my family. I bought one of those DNA kits during a holiday sale because my friends thought it would be fun to compare our ancestry results. I never expected it to change my life. 3 weeks later, my phone vibrated with a notification that read, "Close family match found." My heart instantly started pounding. I smiled, assuming it was a distant cousin I'd never met. Instead, the screen showed a woman named Rebecca with a predicted relationship of half sister. I actually gasped. I was an only child, or at least that's what I'd been told for 31 years. I refreshed the page 3 times, convinced it had to be some kind of mistake. It wasn't. 10 minutes later, I received a message from Rebecca. "I think we need to talk." We agreed to meet at a small coffee shop halfway between our cities. The moment she walked in, my entire body froze. She had my eyes, my smile, even the same tiny scar above her left eyebrow that I'd had since I was 6. We sat there staring at each other in complete disbelief. Rebecca finally broke the silence. "I grew up believing my father abandoned my mother before I was born," she whispered. My stomach twisted. I quietly replied, "I grew up believing my dad had never been with anyone else." Neither of us knew which story was true, but we both knew someone had been lying. That evening, I drove straight to my parents' house carrying printed copies of the DNA report. My mother opened the door with a smile, until she saw the papers in my hand. The color instantly drained from her face. My father walked into the hallway, looked at Rebecca's name, and simply sat down without saying a word. The room became dead silence. Finally, my mother started crying. "We were going to tell you someday," she whispered. My heart felt like it had completely shattered. "Someday," I shouted. "I'm 31. My father buried his face in his hands before quietly admitting that Rebecca was his daughter from a relationship years before he met my mother. He had paid child support, but after Rebecca's mother moved away, they lost contact. And he never had the courage to tell me. I was furious. Not because I suddenly had a sister, but because everyone had decided I wasn't strong enough to know the truth. For 2 weeks, I barely answered my parents' calls. Instead, Rebecca and I spent hours talking, sharing childhood stories, comparing old photographs, and laughing at how many strange habits we had in common. We both loved the same books, hated olives, and had inherited our father's terrible sense of direction. Slowly, the anger inside me began to fade. I realized the lie had stolen years from us, but it didn't have to steal the future too. A month later, Rebecca invited me to her daughter's 8th birthday party. I was nervous walking through the front door, but the little girl ran straight toward me and shouted, "Mom said you're my aunt." She wrapped her tiny arms around me before I'd even introduced myself. My heart instantly melted. Rebecca looked at me with tears in her eyes and smiled. "We've missed a lot of birthdays," she said softly. "Let's not miss any more." I hugged her so tightly we both started crying. In that moment, I stopped mourning the family I thought I'd lost and started embracing the one I never knew I had. 6 months later, my parents finally sat down with both of us and answered every difficult question we'd carried for years. The conversations weren't easy. There were tears, uncomfortable silences, and painful memories. But for the first time, there were no more secrets. Looking around the table, I realized something I'd never expected. The DNA test didn't destroy my family. It exposed the lie that had been keeping it incomplete. And sometimes, the truth hurts only long enough to make room for the people who should have been beside you all along. If a DNA test revealed you had a sibling your family had hidden for decades, would you want to know the truth? Yes, no.